Arriving in paradise. The Miami sun blazed overhead as Olivia Bennet stepped out of the airport terminal, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She had not seen her best friend Sophie Torres in person for almost 2 years. Video calls could never replace the warmth of real hugs and shared laughter. Sophie had moved to Miami 6 months ago and had been begging Olivia to visit ever since. Olivia adjusted her backpack and looked around for the car Sophie promised to send. Her phone buzzed with a text message. The driver was waiting in the parking garage. As she made her way through the crowds, Olivia thought about how much had changed since their college days. Sophie had landed her dream job as a marketing director for a luxury hotel chain. Olivia had built a successful freelance graphic design business in Portland. Both women had worked hard to create the lives they wanted. The drive from the airport to Sophie's apartment took 40 minutes through palm-lined streets and waterfront views. Olivia pressed her face against the window, taking in the vibrant colors of Miami. Everything felt alive here, so different from the gray skies of Portland. When the car pulled up to a stunning glass tower overlooking Biscayne Bay, Olivia's jaw dropped. Sophie had mentioned a nice place, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. An unexpected encounter. The elevator opened directly into a spacious penthouse. Olivia stepped inside, her eyes widening at the floor-to-ceiling windows that showcased the entire Miami skyline and the turquoise waters of the bay. Modern furniture filled the open living space, and everything looked like it belonged in a design magazine. But Sophie was nowhere to be seen. Olivia set down her bags and called out her friend's name. No response. She noticed a hallway leading to what she assumed were the bedrooms. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Sophie said she was running late, stuck in a meeting, and told Olivia to make herself comfortable. The message included instructions to use the guest bathroom down the hall. Feeling sticky from the flight and the Miami heat, Olivia decided to freshen up. She walked down the hallway, counting doors. Sophie's text had said the third door on the left. Olivia pushed it open and walked through what appeared to be a master bedroom. The sound of running water came from an attached bathroom. Before she could turn around, the water stopped. The bathroom door swung open. Time seemed to freeze completely. A man stood there wrapped only in a towel, water droplets sliding down his tanned, athletic frame. He was tall with broad shoulders and dark hair still wet from the shower. His brown eyes locked onto hers with an expression of complete surprise. Olivia felt her face turn crimson. She recognized him instantly. Nathan Torres. Sophie's older brother. The man who had teased her relentlessly throughout college. The man whose rejection 6 years ago still stung whenever she thought about it. And now she was seeing him practically naked in what was apparently his bedroom. The complicated history. 3 seconds felt like 3 hours. Neither of them moved. Nathan recovered first, his surprise turning into something else. Amusement danced in his eyes. He grabbed another towel from a nearby rack, clearly in no rush to cover up completely. "Well, if it isn't Olivia Bennet," he said, his voice carrying that familiar teasing tone she remembered too well. "Still have a habit of barging into places you shouldn't be?" Olivia spun around, her back to him, her heart hammering. "I thought this was the guest room. Sophie told me to use the bathroom down the hall." "This is my penthouse," Nathan said, and she heard him moving around, presumably getting dressed. "Sophie is staying here temporarily while her condo gets renovated." She conveniently forgot to mention that part, I'm guessing. Olivia's mind raced. This was Sophie's doing. Her friend had deliberately sent her to Nathan's room. But why would Sophie do something so mortifying? Unless this was one of her schemes. Sophie had always believed that Olivia and Nathan were perfect for each other, despite their constant bickering. "You can turn around now," Nathan said. "I'm decent." Olivia turned slowly. He wore dark jeans and a fitted white t-shirt that showed off his build. His hair was still damp, pushed back from his face. He looked older than she remembered, more mature, but that mischievous glint in his eyes remained unchanged. "This is mortifying," Olivia muttered, heading toward the door. "For you or for me?" Nathan followed her out of the bedroom. "I'm the one who got walked in on." "I apologized already." "No, you didn't." Olivia stopped in the hallway and faced him. "Fine. I'm sorry for accidentally walking in on you in your own bathroom in your own bedroom that your sister deliberately directed me to." Nathan's lips curved into a smile. "That wasn't so hard, was it?" The setup revealed. They found Sophie in the living room, sitting on the white leather sofa with a glass of wine, looking entirely too pleased with herself. She jumped up when she saw them, her eyes sparkling with barely contained laughter. "Olivia! You made it!" Sophie hugged her tightly, then pulled back with an innocent expression. "Did you find the bathroom okay?" "You set me up," Olivia accused, but she couldn't help smiling. This was classic Sophie. "I have no idea what you mean," Sophie said, not even trying to sound convincing. "Nathan, be nice to my best friend." "When am I ever not nice?" Nathan poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter on the bar. "You were pretty mean in college," Olivia pointed out before she could stop herself. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Nathan's expression shifted, something unreadable crossing his face. Their eyes met, and suddenly they were both remembering that night 6 years ago. The graduation party. Olivia, emboldened by champagne and encouragement from Sophie, had confessed her feelings to Nathan in front of half their friends. His response had been cold and public. "You're sweet, Olivia, but you're not really my type. I go for women with a bit more confidence." Those words had haunted her for years. They had shaped how she saw herself and how she approached relationships. She had worked hard to build her confidence, to prove to herself that she was worthy. But seeing Nathan again brought all those old feelings rushing back. The proposition. Sophie clapped her hands together, breaking the tension. "Okay, so I have something exciting to tell both of you. The hotel chain I work for just acquired a property in the Keys. They want to turn it into an exclusive beach resort. I recommended you, Olivia, to design all the branding, website, and marketing materials." Olivia's eyes widened. This was exactly the kind of project she had been hoping for. "Sophie, that's incredible." "Thank you." "There's more," Sophie continued, her smile widening. "Nathan's development company won the contract to renovate and manage the construction. So you two will be working together for the next 3 months." The silence that followed was deafening. Olivia stared at Sophie in disbelief. Nathan set down his glass with a sharp clink. "You cannot be serious," Nathan said. "Completely serious," Sophie replied. "The contracts are signed. The project starts next week. First meeting is Monday morning at the property site." Olivia's mind raced through 1,000 objections, but underneath the panic was something else. A flutter of excitement she refused to acknowledge. Working with Nathan would be torture. He would tease her, challenge her, push every button she had. But maybe, just maybe, this was her chance to finally show him who she had become. "I'll do it," Olivia said, lifting her chin. "Professional projects don't scare me." Nathan studied her for a long moment, and something shifted in his expression. Respect, perhaps. Or curiosity. "Fine. But I expect professional behavior and realistic timelines." "You'll get both," Olivia promised. Sophie beamed at them both, clearly thrilled with how this was unfolding. As Olivia excused herself to find the actual guest room and unpack, she caught Nathan watching her leave. His expression was complicated, layered with emotions she couldn't quite read. This Miami trip was supposed to be a relaxing vacation. Instead, it had turned into something far more complicated. 3 months working alongside the man who had broken her heart and bruised her confidence. 3 months to prove she was nothing like the shy girl he remembered. 3 months that might just change everything. Monday morning revelations. The Florida Keys welcomed Olivia with sunshine and ocean breezes that carried the scent of salt and possibility. She stood on the beach in front of the property that would become the resort, her sketchbook tucked under one arm and her camera hanging around her neck. The old hotel building behind her was run down and desperately needed renovation, but the location was absolutely perfect. White sand stretched in both directions, and the turquoise water sparkled under the morning sun. Nathan arrived exactly on time, pulling up in a black truck that looked both expensive and practical. He wore khaki work pants and a navy polo shirt with his company logo embroidered on the chest. Sunglasses hid his eyes as he approached, carrying a rolled set of blueprints under his arm. 2 other men followed him, members of his construction team. "Morning," Nathan said, his tone strictly professional. "This is Carlos, my project manager, and Jamie, the lead architect. They'll be working with us throughout the renovation." Olivia shook hands with both men, grateful for their friendly demeanor. Carlos was in his 50s with kind eyes and a warm smile. Jamie looked close to her age, enthusiastic and already taking notes on a tablet. Having other people around made the situation feel less intense, less personal. For the next 2 hours, they walked through the property together. Nathan explained the structural challenges and opportunities. The building had good bones but needed extensive updates to plumbing, electrical systems, and interior spaces. Olivia took hundreds of photos, capturing angles and light patterns that would inform her design work. She noticed how Nathan spoke with passion about the renovation, his hands gesturing as he described his vision for transforming the space. Finding common ground. "The lobby needs to feel welcoming but sophisticated," Nathan said as they stood in the dusty entrance hall. "Not too formal, but definitely upscale." "Ocean colors," Olivia suggested, already seeing the design in her mind. "Whites, blues, sandy beiges. Natural materials like driftwood and stone. We want guests to feel connected to the environment." Nathan turned to look at her, pushing his sunglasses up onto his head. "That actually works perfectly with what I had in mind. The outdoor spaces should flow seamlessly into the indoor areas." "Exactly," Olivia felt a surge of excitement. "Floor-to-ceiling windows wherever possible. Maybe a living wall with tropical plants in the lobby. The branding should reflect that same organic, coastal luxury feel." Jamie typed rapidly on his tablet, nodding enthusiastically. "I love this direction. It's fresh but timeless." For the first time since arriving in Miami, Olivia and Nathan were communicating without tension. They were professionals working toward a shared goal, and it felt surprisingly natural. Carlos suggested they break for lunch, and the 4 of them headed to a local seafood restaurant that Carlos recommended. Over plates of grilled fish and cold drinks, the conversation flowed easily. Carlos shared stories from 30 years in construction. Jamie talked about his architecture degree and his dreams of sustainable building design. Nathan mostly listened, but Olivia noticed him watching her when she spoke, his expression thoughtful rather than mocking. Late-night sessions begin. The following weeks fell into a demanding rhythm. Olivia extended her stay in Miami indefinitely, working from Sophie's penthouse during the days and traveling to the Keys several times a week for site meetings. Nathan's construction schedule was aggressive. He wanted the resort open by the following spring, which meant every decision needed to be made quickly and efficiently. Olivia threw herself into the work with fierce dedication. She created mood boards, color palettes, and logo concepts. She designed the website layout and drafted marketing copy that captured the essence of what the resort would become. She worked late into the nights, fueled by coffee and creative energy. One evening, around midnight, she sat at Sophie's dining table surrounded by fabric samples and paint chips. Her laptop displayed 3 different logo variations, and she couldn't decide which direction felt right. Sophie had gone to bed hours ago, and the penthouse was quiet except for the soft hum of the air conditioning. A knock on the door startled her. She opened it to find Nathan standing there, still in his work clothes, looking tired but alert. He held his own laptop and a folder thick with documents. "I saw your light on from downstairs," he said. "I live 2 floors below. Figured you might still be working." "Can't sleep until I solve this logo problem," Olivia admitted, stepping aside to let him in. Nathan set his things on the table and looked at her work spread across every surface. He studied the 3 logo options on her screen without saying anything for a long moment. Then he pointed to the middle design. "That one," he said. "It's clean, memorable, and it'll work across all applications. The other 2 are trying too hard." Olivia looked at the design he had chosen. It was her favorite too, but she had been second-guessing herself. "You really think so?" "I know so." Nathan pulled out a chair and sat down. "Want to see what I'm struggling with?" For the next hour, they worked side by side. Nathan showed her the challenge he faced with the pool deck design. The space was awkward, and he couldn't figure out how to make it flow properly. Olivia looked at his blueprints with fresh eyes and suggested moving the bar area to the opposite corner, which would open up the whole space. "That could actually work," Nathan said, sketching quick modifications on his tablet. "You have a good eye for spatial design." "You have good instincts for branding," Olivia replied. "Maybe we make a decent team after all." Nathan looked up from his work, and their eyes met. Something passed between them, a moment of recognition and possibility. The tension that usually crackled between them had shifted into something different. Something warmer. The storm. 3 weeks into the project, a summer storm rolled into the Keys with little warning. Olivia had driven down that morning for a site inspection, and Nathan was already there with his crew. Dark clouds gathered quickly, and the wind picked up, bending palm trees and whipping sand across the beach. "Everyone back to the mainland," Nathan ordered his team. "This is going to get worse before it gets better." But Olivia's car wouldn't start. The engine turned over weakly and then died completely. Nathan tried jumping it with his truck, but the battery was completely gone. The rain began falling in heavy sheets, and lightning cracked across the darkening sky. "There's a cottage on the property," Nathan said, rain already soaking through his shirt. "The one structure that's actually weatherproof. We need to wait this out there." They ran through the downpour to a small building set back from the main hotel. Nathan had keys to everything on the property. He unlocked the door, and they tumbled inside, dripping wet and breathing hard. The cottage was furnished simply but comfortably, a place where the property manager had once lived. It had electricity, running water, and most importantly, it was dry. Olivia shivered in her soaked clothes. Nathan disappeared into a bedroom and returned with towels and an old sweatshirt. "Bathrooms through there if you want to change. This should fit you, more or less." She took the offering gratefully and emerged a few minutes later, swimming in his oversized sweatshirt but warm and dry. Nathan had changed into a spare t-shirt he apparently kept in his truck. He was making coffee in the small kitchen, and the familiar smell filled the cottage. "Could be stuck here for a few hours," Nathan said, handing her a steaming mug. "Hope you don't have plans tonight." "Just more logo revisions." Olivia wrapped her hands around the warm cup. "Nothing that can't wait." They sat on the worn couch as the storm raged outside. Rain hammered the roof and windows. Thunder rolled across the sky. In the cozy cottage, cut off from the rest of the world, something between them began to shift in ways neither had anticipated. Walls coming down. "Can I ask you something?" Olivia said after a long silence. "Why were you so mean to me in college?" Nathan stared into his coffee for a moment before answering. "I wasn't trying to be mean. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me? By humiliating me in front of everyone?" "By keeping distance between us." Nathan set down his mug and turned to face her. Olivia, you were 21 years old, innocent and sweet, still figuring out who you were. I was 25, already cynical about relationships, focused entirely on building my company. You deserved someone better than who I was back then. Olivia felt her throat tighten. This wasn't the explanation she had expected. You could have just said no privately. You didn't have to make me feel small. I know, Nathan's voice was rough with regret. I handled it terribly. I was young and stupid, and I thought being harsh would help you move on faster. Instead, I hurt you in a way that clearly lasted. I'm sorry, Olivia. I've been sorry for 6 years. The sincerity in his voice broke through her defenses. She had carried this hurt for so long, but hearing his apology and understanding his reasoning helped something inside her begin to heal. I wasn't really in love with you, Olivia admitted. I had a crush, sure, but mostly I wanted you to see me as someone worthy of attention. I wanted to matter to someone like you. Someone like me? Nathan looked genuinely confused. Confident, successful, sure of yourself. Everything I wasn't. Olivia, you were all of those things. You just didn't see it yet. Nathan shifted closer on the couch. And now look at you. You built a thriving business. You're talented, creative, professional. You became exactly who you were meant to be. His words settled over her like a warm blanket. She had worked so hard to build her confidence and create a life she was proud of. Hearing him acknowledge that growth meant more than she wanted to admit. Why did you really agree to this project? Olivia asked. You could have refused to work with me. Nathan was quiet for a long moment, the storm continuing its symphony outside. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and honest. Because Sophie was right. We needed to clear the air between us. And because when I saw you again after all these years, standing in my bedroom looking mortified and beautiful, I realized I had made the biggest mistake of my life 6 years ago. Olivia's heart began racing. Nathan. I'm not that stupid kid anymore, he continued, his brown eyes intense and sincere. I know what matters now. I know when something real is standing right in front of me. The space between them on the couch felt charged with electricity that had nothing to do with the lightning outside. Olivia's breath caught as Nathan reached out and gently tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered against her cheek. Tell me to stop, Nathan whispered, and I will. But Olivia didn't want him to stop. She leaned into his touch, and that small movement was all the permission he needed. Nathan closed the distance between them, his lips meeting hers in a kiss that was gentle and tentative and absolutely perfect. The storm raged on outside, but inside the cottage, everything felt calm and right. When they finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Olivia rested her forehead against Nathan's. This complicates things, she murmured. Maybe, Nathan smiled against her hair. Or maybe it makes everything clearer. The morning after the storm. Sunlight streamed through the cottage windows, revealing a world washed clean by the previous night's storm. Olivia woke on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, with Nathan's arms around her. They had talked until dawn, sharing stories and dreams, learning each other in ways that went far beyond their professional collaboration. Nothing more than kissing had happened, but everything had changed between them. Nathan stirred beside her, his eyes opening slowly. When he saw her watching him, a smile spread across his face that transformed his usually serious expression into something warm and genuine. Good morning, he said softly, his voice still rough with sleep. Morning, Olivia replied, suddenly feeling shy despite the intimacy of their position. They drove back to Miami together in Nathan's truck, Olivia's car arranged for towing and repair. The drive should have felt awkward, but instead it felt comfortable, natural. They stopped for breakfast at a small diner, sitting across from each other in a worn vinyl booth, sharing pancakes and coffee while discussing everything except what was happening between them. When Nathan dropped her off at Sophie's building, he caught her hand before she could get out of the truck. "We should probably talk about this," he said. "Probably," Olivia agreed, her heart racing. "But not yet." Nathan brought her hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. "Let's just see where this goes without overthinking it." Olivia nodded, relief washing through her. She wasn't ready to define what they were becoming. She just wanted to experience it. Sophie's knowing smile. Sophie took one look at Olivia when she entered the penthouse and burst into delighted laughter. "Something happened," Sophie announced, setting down her coffee cup with dramatic flair. "Tell me everything immediately." "We got caught in the storm," Olivia said, trying to sound casual. "Had to wait it out in the property cottage." "Just the two of you? All night? In a romantic cottage during a storm?" Sophie's eyes sparkled with mischief. "This is better than any romance novel I've ever read." Olivia couldn't help but smile. "We talked. Really talked. He apologized for college." Sophie's expression softened. "Good. He should have done that years ago." "What else?" "We might have kissed," Olivia admitted, feeling her cheeks warm. Sophie squealed and pulled Olivia into a tight hug. "I knew it. I knew you two were perfect for each other. Everyone could see it except you both." "It's complicated though," Olivia pulled back, worry creeping into her voice. "We're working together. What if this ruins the project? What if it doesn't work out and everything becomes awkward? What if it does work out and you end up deliriously happy?" Sophie countered. "Stop looking for reasons to be scared and just let yourself feel what you feel." Growing closer. The following weeks were a careful dance of professional collaboration and personal connection. During work hours, Olivia and Nathan maintained appropriate boundaries. They discussed design choices, construction timelines, and budget considerations with focused professionalism. But the tension between them had transformed from antagonistic to magnetic. After work, things were different. Nathan started appearing at the penthouse most evenings, initially with excuses about needing to review plans or discuss project details. But the work conversations always evolved into personal ones. They ordered takeout and talked for hours. They discovered shared interests in old movies and hiking. They debated everything from politics to the best pizza toppings. Nathan took Olivia to his favorite spots around Miami. A hidden beach where sea turtles nested. A Cuban restaurant where his family had been eating for 3 generations. A jazz club in a basement where musicians played until sunrise. With every outing, Olivia saw more layers to the man she was falling for. Because she was falling. Despite her attempts to guard her heart, despite the memories of past hurt, Olivia was falling completely and utterly for Nathan Torres. The project progressed beautifully. Her designs were approved enthusiastically by the hotel chain executives. Nathan's construction crew worked efficiently, transforming the tired building into something spectacular. Carlos often commented on how well Olivia and Nathan worked together, their communication seamless and their shared vision clear. Jamie pulled Olivia aside one afternoon at the construction site. "I've worked with Nathan for 3 years," he said quietly. "I've never seen him this happy. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." The argument. But happiness built on unspoken feelings couldn't last forever without acknowledgement. The breaking point came 6 weeks into the project during a heated disagreement about the restaurant space. Olivia had designed a concept for the resort signature restaurant that featured an open kitchen, floor-to-ceiling aquarium wall, and intimate booth seating. Nathan insisted the layout wasn't practical, that the aquarium would be a maintenance nightmare, and that they needed more traditional table arrangements to maximize capacity. "You're thinking like a businessman, not a designer," Olivia argued, her frustration building. "This restaurant needs to be an experience, not just a place to eat." "And you're thinking like an artist without considering operational reality," Nathan shot back. "Beautiful designs mean nothing if they don't function properly." They were alone in the unfinished restaurant space, their voices echoing off bare walls. The rest of the crew had left for the day. The sun was setting outside the windows, casting long shadows across the concrete floor. "You're doing it again," Olivia said, her voice shaking slightly. "Dismissing my ideas like they don't matter." "That's not what I'm doing," Nathan ran his hand through his hair in frustration. "I'm trying to find solutions that work for everyone. By shooting down everything I suggest. By being realistic about constraints." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implications that went beyond restaurant layouts and aquarium walls. This wasn't really about the design. It was about trust, respect, and whether they could truly be partners in any sense of the word. The room and the truth. Olivia grabbed her portfolio and laptop bag, heading toward the exit. But halfway across the space, she stopped. She was tired of running. Tired of letting fear dictate her actions. Tired of not saying what she really felt. She turned around to find Nathan watching her with an expression of misery that matched her own feelings. "Come with me," Olivia said firmly. "What?" "Come with me. Now." Nathan followed her out to the parking lot and into her rental car, which had been repaired and returned days ago. She drove them back to Miami in charged silence, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. When they arrived at Sophie's building, she led him up to the penthouse. Sophie was out at a work dinner, leaving them alone. Olivia unlocked the door to the guest room where she had been staying and pulled Nathan inside. Her design work covered every surface. Sketches, mood boards, fabric samples, paint chips, and detailed renderings of every space in the resort. Her vision laid bare in physical form. "Look at this," Olivia said, her voice intense. "Really look at it." Nathan moved slowly through the room, examining each piece of her work. She had poured her heart into this project, infusing every design choice with meaning and purpose. The color palettes weren't random. They told a story of ocean and sand, of sunset and moonlight. The furniture selections weren't just attractive. They invited connection and conversation. The spatial arrangements weren't merely functional. They created flow and feeling. "This restaurant design," Olivia continued, pulling out additional sketches she hadn't shown him yet. "I've thought through every operational concern you raised. The aquarium uses cutting-edge technology that requires minimal maintenance. The open kitchen creates theater and transparency that guests will love. The booth seating maximizes intimacy while actually accommodating the same number of people as traditional tables would." Nathan studied the new sketches, his expression shifting as he absorbed the details. "But that's not really what this argument was about, is it?" Olivia sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly exhausted. "This is about whether you trust me. Whether you see me as an equal or still as that naive girl from college who didn't know what she wanted." Nathan set down the sketches and moved to sit beside her. He was quiet for a long moment, and when he spoke, his voice was raw with emotion. "I don't see that girl at all anymore," Nathan said. "That's the problem. I see this brilliant, talented, confident woman who challenges me and inspires me and scares me absolutely senseless." Olivia looked at him in surprise. "Scares you?" "Terrifies me," Nathan admitted. "Because I'm falling in love with you, Olivia. And I'm terrified I'll mess this up the way I messed up 6 years ago. Every time we disagree about something, I panic that I'm pushing you away again." The words hung in the air between them, honest and vulnerable and exactly what Olivia needed to hear. "You're not that person anymore," Olivia said softly. "And I'm not that person either. We've both grown. We've both changed. But Nathan, if this is going to work, we have to be real partners. That means trusting each other's expertise and having difficult conversations without running away." "You're right," Nathan took her hand, threading his fingers through hers. "Your restaurant design is incredible. More than that, it's perfect. I was being defensive because I was scared, not because your ideas weren't good enough. And I need to be more open to constructive feedback, Olivia acknowledged. Even when it's hard to hear. They sat together in comfortable silence, surrounded by her creative work, holding hands like it was the most natural thing in the world. Outside the windows, Miami sparkled with evening lights. "I'm falling in love with you too," Olivia finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It scares me just as much." Nathan turned to face her fully, cupping her face gently in his hands. "Then let's be scared together. Let's figure this out as we go. No more running, no more hiding behind professional boundaries or old hurts." "No more running," Olivia agreed. This time when Nathan kissed her, it felt different from the kiss in the Storm cottage. That kiss had been tentative, exploratory, full of questions. This kiss was a promise. A commitment to try, to trust, to build something real together. 8 weeks later. The resort opened on a perfect spring morning to rave reviews from travel critics and early guests. The restaurant with its aquarium wall and intimate booth seating became an immediate sensation, exactly as Olivia had envisioned. The lobby's living wall and seamless indoor-outdoor flow created the welcoming yet sophisticated atmosphere they had both fought for. Every design element worked in harmony with the structural beauty Nathan's team had created. Olivia stood on the beach in front of the completed resort, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. Nathan came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and resting his chin on her shoulder. "We did it," he murmured into her hair. "We really did." Olivia leaned back against him, feeling completely content. Sophie appeared beside them, holding 3 glasses of champagne. "To the best collaboration in history," she toasted. "Both professional and personal." "You planned this from the beginning, didn't you?" Olivia accused playfully. "Obviously," Sophie grinned without remorse. "You two were stubborn, but I knew you belonged together. Sometimes people just need a little push in the right direction." Nathan laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "Remind me to thank you properly later." As the 3 of them stood together watching the new day begin, Olivia reflected on how much had changed in just a few months. She had come to Miami expecting a simple vacation with her best friend. Instead, she had found partnership, purpose, and love in the most unexpected place. The shy girl who had once been afraid to stand up for herself had become a woman who knew her worth. The defensive man who pushed people away had learned to open his heart. And together, they had created something beautiful, both in the resort that stood behind them and in the relationship they were building day by day. Sometimes the best stories begin with embarrassing mistakes and old wounds. Sometimes they require storms and arguments and vulnerable moments in rooms filled with dreams. But when 2 people are willing to trust, to grow, and to see each other clearly, those stories can transform into something extraordinary. This was just their beginning. The end.